having amnesia and deja vu at the same time.
The phrase conspiracy theory is one of those that's constantly brought up, and I think its effect simply is to discourage institutional analysis. That's not a conspiracy theory. Now, that's not to say that one shouldn't try to do things. I mean, it makes sense to try to push the limits of the system.
Day 8 in the Big Brother house. Anna's picking her nail on the sofa.
Go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourselves. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. Less than 3% of you people read books. The only truth you know is what you get over this tube. Right now, there is an entire generation that never knew anything that didn't come out of this tube. This tube is the gospel, the ultimate revelation. This tube can make or break presidents, popes, prime ministers. This tube is the most awesome goddamn force in the whole godless world. And woe is us if it ever falls into the hands of the wrong people. And when the 12th largest company in the world controls the most awesome goddamn propaganda force in the whole godless world, who knows what shit will be peddled for truth on this network. So you listen to me. Listen to me. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to God. Go to your gurus. Go to yourselves. Because that's the only place you're ever going to find any real truth. But man, you're never going to get any truth from us. We'll tell you anything you want to hear. We lie like hell. We'll tell you that Kojak always gets the killer and that nobody ever gets cancer in Archie Bunker's house. And no matter how much trouble the hero is in, don't worry, just look at your watch. At the end of the hour, he's going to win. We'll tell you any shit you want to hear. We deal in illusions, man. None of it is true. But you people sit there day after day, night after night, all ages, colors, creeds. We're all you know. You're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning here. You're beginning to think that the tube is reality and that your own lives are unreal. You do whatever the tube tells you. You dress like the tube. You eat like the tube. You raise your children like the tube. You even think like the tube. This is mass madness, you maniacs. In God's name, you people are the real thing. We are the illusion. So turn off your television sets. Turn them off now. Turn them off right now. Turn them off and leave them off. Turn them off right in the middle of the sentence I'm speaking to you now. Turn them off.
Hi, my name's Daniel B. Burnham! And here at Raytheon, we like to pride ourselves in being the world market leader in nuclear annihilation systems.
Who gets the money? Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Raytheon and TRW. Who loses the money? You do.
Paul McCartney is a cunt.
Yeah, Charlie, yeah. Coke. Well, she'll ransack Pakistan and run a scam in Scandinavia. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. Tell me, where in the world is
Condoleezza Rice?
She's got a lot of hatred, clearly, or arrogance, or I don't know what it is.
The future's fucked. The sky is orange. The future's fucked. The sky is orange. What can we ever say? Oh, the future's fucked. And the sky is orange. Getting worse every day. Oh, the future's fucked. And the sky is orange. And my heart is bleeding so. Because the future's fucked and the sky is orange and my heart is filled heavy with woe.
We've already banned the use of landmines, and now if you say you can't use depleted uranium, either shells or bombs, then frankly stay home, don't fight. Because it is now, you can't use nuclear weapons, you won't be able to use conventional weapons, and then frankly this would be so ludicrous. What one has to do is to make sure that if these shells are used, if these bombs are used, at least your military personnel are aware of the dangers, are given warnings when they approach a tank which has depleted uranium, causing health problems, and therefore one should take the appropriate adjusting steps.
So every month 5,000 children are dying in Iraq, and have since 1991. Women are too terrified to give birth to their babies because they're born with single eyes, cyclopses, anencephaly with no vault to the skull and no brain, babies who cough and cry and suck for a week and then die. That's what's going on in Iraq because America used depleted uranium weapons.
Where's my whore? I was promised a whore. Or at least a bottle of Beaujolais.
Alexis or justice, or dream or some substance. Alexis or justice, or dream or some substance. Alexis or justice, or dream or some substance. Alexis or justice, or dream or some substance.
Excuse me, DJ. Have you got I'm Real by Ja Rule and J-Lo?
You have no talent, and yet you want to be a star. I think something can be arranged. Suck Satan's cock.
Machine to bring the new pop star out like he's a heavy metal star or a wrestler, and then douse him in blood-red balloons as he exits the stage. It's still, to me, a very chilling performance. I mean, he did not come across statesmanlike. He comes across as a spoiled, preppy twit, just trying out for the debate team as a freshman in college. I mean, there's just a very chilling vibe about him. When he calls his vice president Dick Cheney a man of integrity and sound judgment, this is the man who ordered Colin Powell to draw up plans for nuking Baghdad during the Gulf War and voted in favor of legalizing plastic handguns. He calls his father the most decent man he has ever known, which rather scares me as to who else he may hang out with at this point. He comes across as dangerous when he talks about, one of his priorities is not just paranoia about the threats to the national security of the country, but rather than defuse them or solve them, he wants to confront them. And claiming there's some steady erosion of American power when every corner of the earth is terrified to death of us. Now outer space gets to be terrified to death of us as well. I mean, when his father was president, that was probably the time I actually did fear for my life. That was King George I, who basically thought America should be run like a banana republic, while King George II is like, well, maybe we should just run this country like a baseball team, or worse yet, run it like Texas. And hey, Kim Jong-il, he said, you don't mess with Texas, man. You just don't mess with Texas. Like a baseball team. Worse yet, run it like Texas. Hey, Kim Jong-il, he said, you don't mess with Texas, man. You just don't mess with Texas.
MP3, DVD, CD, VCD, I'll text you, email, laptop, flat screen, CD-ROM, CDR, CDRW, fax machine, inkjet printer, color copier.com, internet, world wide web, server, flash, HTML, JavaScript, pop account, username, webmonkey, hard disk, RAM, Outlook Express, Yahoo, something lastminute.com, Google, iBook, Apple, Microsoft, Bill Gates, PCDO, Crash, I'm Real, Trash, Chooser, Bowser, Surfer, Chatoo, Scanner, Direct, ADSL, ASDN, VM.
Yes, money that I love. 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 Yes, money that I love.
Clearly, if you simply value money, you will suffer the fate of people who throughout history have suffered this obsession with money. You end up greedy, rich and friendless is what it amounts to.
Americans in Space.
Captain, bad news, I'm afraid. We've spotted the poor.
If you start this war, you have merely demonstrated your supine indifference to the injustice facing humanity on this globe, and you've instead chosen to line up with the oil companies and the arms manufacturers to kill the poor, the weak, and the innocent.
The real question that we need to ask when we're making a comparison with, say, 50 years ago is, are people any happier than they were then? And there's no evidence that they were. In fact, the pointers all look the other way. People are under much more pressure now. The pace of life is much more hectic. And for me, the bottom line is the system is much more likely to collapse. Why? There are several reasons. One is environmental. We just can't continue at the present destructive rate, using more and more resources each year, which the economic growth process requires. Another is social, that stresses between rich and poor around the world are growing. We saw September the 11th, perhaps a consequence of that. People in the rest of the world know they are in fact in the majority. There are these narrow islands of prosperity and we just happen to be living in one, but they're pressing in on us all the time. And the third one is this whole question of oil depletion, that we've generated economic growth by substituting oil and other fossil fuels for human and animal labour, and we can't carry on doing that anymore. We have to stop growing.
Always have more, always more, always have more, always more, always have more, always more.
Let's take a look first at the long-term forecast. A lot of nuclear winter, moving all over the globe and lasting for the next 2 years. So if your hair's falling out, do remember to wrap up warm. Good night.
What's very difficult for people, including myself, is this sense of frustration and irrelevance. Because individually you're overwhelmed by events and changes in the larger system. It's extremely depressing to realize that your best efforts to live a sensible lifestyle can be overwhelmed by the general momentum towards disaster all around you. To find ways of dealing with that is not easy, but I don't think it means you should stop. In the wider system, I think what's critically needed is honesty before anything else. There's no trust without honesty. We have to be candid with our children about what's actually happening. On that basis, it's possible to generate some trust, and on the basis of trust, you can generate some reasonable politics. On that basis, you might get some reasonable, sustainable economics.